Hello, welcome to week 8. Just a few quick business things before we get started. There was a discussion board on the Blackboard website that was titled ePortfolios, and people were confused by that. Sorry about that. That should have been on a different Blackboard site, so that had nothing to do with this course. I've taken it down. So don't worry about that. One of the things I wanted to say about how you do post, I think a lot of people are only looking at the post that they haven't read. So if you're replying to some other post, or um, even if you're not, if you're just commenting on one of the readings, try and set a little context. I noticed a lot of people are doing things like saying, when I was reading this piece, it helps to know what this piece is. I would try and think about your post on the discussion boards as almost being standalones. So set a little context. Let us know what you're talking about. If you're responding to somebody, tell us to whom you're responding and why you're responding to them. If it's a post about a reading, tell us which reading you're responding to. That will help us. I'm working through the personal essays. I should finish those in the next day or two and send those back to you. So start looking for those. Wanted to talk a little bit about character sketches. Originally on the syllabus that was due this Tuesday. Since I pushed back the personal essay date, I'm going to also push back the due date for the character sketch. So this will go back to 10/14, October the 14th. So that'll give you a little more time to do that. What I'm asking you to do in the character sketch is to try to give us some notion of what a person is like. It's an introduction to what the person is like. It's not the person's entire character. So the first time you mention that person, you may want to do a character sketch. And for the assignment, I'm asking you to do this in 2 different lengths. One length longer and then one length that's very short. And those are different kinds of character sketches. A character sketch, by the way, can be an entire essay. Sometimes it's an entire book. A memoir originally was typically someone writing about a famous person that he or she knew. So one of the first was Xenophon writing about Socrates, which was in the 5th century BCE. So a character sketch can be a much longer piece, but what I'm trying to do is get you to write a character sketch that you can incorporate within your essay. So the first time you mention someone, what you want to do is try and give the reader a hook, a way of knowing what that person's character is like, so that we have something besides a name to identify with. Now, that initial description of the person might be stereotypical. It might be a single gesture. It might be something about how they dress. It might be something about how they talk. But what we're trying to do is basically give the reader a hook so that the reader thinks they know this person. They may not know the full person or all the complexities of the person, but we want just that little hook so that when they see the name, some sort of image conjures in their mind. When I talk about character sketches, one of the things I sometimes talk about is a Kurosawa film, Yojimbo. Toshiro Mifune plays the lead role of Yojimbo. He's a samurai, a ronin, a samurai without a master, who comes into a small town where 2 families are warring against each other and in constant battle, and he starts playing the 2 families off of each other, and he's a master swordsman. And Mifune does this real interesting little thing. So Yojimbo will be in a fight with 8 other people and he'll basically kill all 8 of them. And then we'll see him strutting off, the back of him strutting off. and he'll do a little shoulder roll like this. It's a simple gesture, but what it does is it gives us a way of thinking about that character. So a simple gesture like that can do a lot to providing a hook for a character. So, and again, I think I've mentioned this already. With Lo Pate's essay, we've kind of already covered this as well. But even if you're doing creative nonfiction, you have to do a character sketch. The reason you have to do a character sketch is because the reader doesn't know that person. So you have to give the reader some idea of who that person is, what that person is like. Sometimes you will do that in a phrase embedded in a sentence, and sometimes you might spend a page and a half doing a character sketch. It just depends on the situation. So character sketch, due date pushed back to October 14th, but go ahead and start working on those. The readings for this week, there'll be 4 readings, but they're all pretty short, so it won't be that hard to get through them. Jeannie Good, there was a little article there about incorporating pictures into your essay. So the focus of this week is kind of an extension of what we were doing last week on research. So you do research, you find documents and photographs and what I generally call artifacts. They may actually be objects. How do you incorporate those into your writing? So Good's short article on pictures will help with that. I'm asking you to read 2 chapters out of my memoir. Some of the words are theirs. One is where I take some photographs. It's several photographs that were shot on the same day. It's a day that I have no memory of, but what I do is construct a little story about what happened when those photographs were taken. And the other chapter is mainly focused around a letter that my father wrote to my family, or my mother, after he left the family. So mainly what I want to get across with these chapters is how do you incorporate artifacts into your nonfiction writing? You have to set a context, and I think what you should try to do is build some kind of story around the artifact, and I hope that the sections from my memoir will do that. Apologies in advance for asking you to read some of my own writing. When I was at the River Teeth nonfiction conference last summer, one of the things those of us who were there talked about was how many of the speakers used their own work as examples of what they were talking about. And I started to appreciate that maybe that would be a good way to do some teaching, because then it's a work that I know. So if you have questions about it and why I did certain things in a certain way, I can answer those. Okay, the last reading for the week is a short piece that appeared in the New York Times Magazine, on basically writing and healing. My own memoir I consider to be a healing narrative. And I also want to point out that Chuck Anderson, who's now an emeritus professor in our department, is a national figure on writing and healing, and co-edited a book called Writing and Healing, which is an NCTE publication. I just want us to have some kind of discussion on the way in which writing can help you to deal with trauma in your past, and maybe help you to find a way to create a more healthy narrative about what happened. So we can have some discussion on that on the discussion board as well. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be getting your personal essays back within a few days. So have a good week.